Hello, welcome everyone. So good to see you all. And yes, thank you for waving. Let's just come across the screen, see who we've got on the call. Lots of familiar faces, some new faces. Just to say, if you put your camera on, if you put your video on, you get into the front screens. And these calls, I never know who's going to come on the calls, and I never know what anyone is going to say. Last time, without me realizing, we actually had a Dutch comedian come on and do a spoof, and, which I didn't quite realize at the time. I only found out afterwards. Obviously, the bar for comedy is set quite low in the Netherlands. Anyway, and also just to say, I'm going to do an opening, and I've been feeling very, very optimistic and positive since the winter solstice, and this real feeling that there's a shift and there's a breaking down of what's going on. But I was kind of plunged into a little bit of a depression this morning, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. But those of you who are listening to the recording of this, just to say, if you're listening on YouTube, you will need to switch to Odyssey, where you'll find the full content, because I no longer post full content to YouTube. So you'll just get the first few minutes of preview. I've lived in Bakewell since 2005, and I have never met John Butler, who's a very famous Bakewell guy, and this is a picture of him. If you know about him on YouTube, he's a very famous kind of spiritual meditation, I won't use the word guru, but a spiritual teacher, and a very, very beautiful man. And I actually bumped into him eventually. Kobe took me on a strange route home from our walk through the churchyard, and he was coming down, and I'm like, John Butler, yes. And because I'd been watching him on YouTube. Anyway, through a very beautiful series of synchronicities, he's kind of become my spiritual mentor. And I've been reading this book, which is introducing his teachings. And I wanted to open today with just one passage from it, which I think is particularly beautiful. And I go and meet him in the church, and we just sit in silence, and he's kind of giving me a lot of guidance, which is really helpful to have that deepening of my ability to hold center as we go through these times. So I'm going to read this passage, and then I'm going to come to you. So just to say, before I read this, just so that we can get people lined up, if you want to come on the call, use the yellow hands up symbol. So you come to the top of the screen. It makes it very much easier for me to manage the call if you're all lined up, and then I can come to you. And I'll get as many people in on the call as I possibly can. Okay. Deep waters indeed. Who'd splash around in the shallows when deep calls, deep unto deep? The responsibility was awesome. Deep, thrilling waters calling us home from mediocrity. This is no journey for the faint-hearted, for human turtles shelled in fool's harbor of a shady world. These depths demand total surrender, total sacrifice. Of course, the world does not approve, cannot understand. It thinks of its own perpetuation, its own safe, life-jacketed prison haven. It fears the open sea. Ho for the ocean. The realms of consciousness far outstrip the limits of expression. Who wants another moribund desire with no end but disappointment? Is it a choice between the hot confusion of my hungry heart and the quiet impersonality of school? I'll have no bond, no loyalty to any body save only the free spirit. Deep calls to deep. Fear not the depths. Hold fast, step with me upon these deep, love-lit waters of spirit. There beams the light I shall follow till I die. So it's a very sweet passage from this book, Introducing Spiritual Unfoldment. And of course, John Butler has written many, many books on mysticism and his experiences through life. And interestingly, he's a farmer, a local farmer, sheep farmer. Anyway, so that's our intro today. Without further ado, let's come to those of you on the call. Actually, let's come to you, Alexis, first, and then I'll come to Lindsay and then to Richard. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going to come to the screens just to end the call. Thank you all for staying on. We've still got 78 on, like a full tarot deck. So let's just give us a last wave, sending you all so much love and gratitude. Thank you for being on. Thank you for joining. And yeah, so I'll see you again in 2 weeks' time, a fortnight from today, which is, I think, the 31st of January. So lots of love. Bye for now.